So as we're looking at the passenger side there, you can see in that door check right here, there's no play in it. So right there, if you watch that, it just rotates nice and smooth. Now listen to what that sounds like every time I open the door on my driver's side. Yeah, every time. And so that really annoys me. That's been the most annoying thing about this vehicle. What I'm going to do is right here where this is popping and sliding back and forth. I don't know if you can see how that's not, there you go. You can see how it slips right there. Not supposed to do that. It's just supposed to rotate, and then you can see it pops. We're going to go ahead and exchange this. And the tools we're going to use to do that are pretty simple. We are going to use Phillips head screwdriver, 10mm socket, and we are going to use my staple puller that I've wrapped with blue painter's tape here instead of a plastic panel remover. Here's what we're going to place it with right here. This is a piece that is made in China. It's not the OEM. And you say, hey, why are you using that cheap piece from China and not the OEM? Well, because I got this piece from Amazon. It got pretty good reviews, and the OEM broke. So, and for all I know, that may have come from China too, but that's what we're replacing it with. Okay, that's a little bit better. So you can see the yellow tab here. That was the one that went right there. That was a little bit touchy, but it just needed a gentle pull to get that loose. It's got this little tweeter here. I'm just gonna let that hang. That's not actually in my way for anything I'm gonna do right now. And so the next thing is we need to pry this piece off right here. We're gonna pull this handle out. We're gonna get our little piece behind, our little staple puller with the tape on it behind here, and pop this piece forward. So we're gonna be just like this. This piece isn't supposed to be in there too difficultly. And we're just gonna get behind it. We can here. I may not be able to do this with one hand while I film. So this piece that was in here took just a little bit more prying. It's got these 4 snaps. You hold the handle out while you do it. Couldn't do that with just one hand while I was filming. Next is a real simple thing. I'll show you down here. So there's a screw down there, Phillips head. Expose one Phillips head. There's a Phillips head here that expose the other Phillips head. And we'll go ahead and take those 2 out. Next thing we're going to do is this piece right here, the window control. We're going to get our pry tool under here, and we're going to pop this up around the edge here. This one here, I want to show you. There's a little spot right here where you see the trim right at the corner here, and just heading toward the door, it's got this little opening. That's a nice spot. You get there, 1 pry, and then the rest of this just pops right out real easy. And then of course we're gonna disconnect the plug here from the window controls. Once we've disconnected that, we're just gonna take this, put it down there inside the door. Our next step is going to be that we're gonna leverage, we're gonna hold the door steady with one hand, and we're gonna pull out at the bottom here. So on the top, the door is just behind the metal lip, but we're gonna pull it out at the bottom where the clips are, and it should just tug from here, and then everything should lift off. Now that that's all off, you're gonna see I've got this harness right here. I'm gonna need to disconnect those terminals so that I can get that away from the door. And then you've also got, let's see if I can show you here, that green cord and white cord right there, which are for the locks, and those just lift up and out. I've watched a lot of other door removals online, and I have a platinum truck. There's one more plug right here that you need to remove, and it's pretty simple. You just push that tab down right here in the middle, and it unplugs, but you need to disconnect that one from the door as well. So now you can see we have access to the speaker here, and we're gonna, just for temporary purposes here, we're gonna unplug the speaker up here, and so it's disconnected. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that we need to remove there. And I think you can either do that with the 10mm socket, or you can go ahead and use a screwdriver. Okay, now that we've got our speaker removed, we can go ahead and start working on our door check right here. This is gonna be a 10mm socket right here. We'll do that one first so that we can get to the other bolts. I'll tell you, that bolt was on there pretty darn snug, and I did have to use a long arm socket to break it initially. And I would just make sure I'm prepared to take that one off with a fair amount of force. It's also at a funny angle there too. So you want something that you have some depth on that you can get into with there. As you can see here was my 3/8 inch drive torque wrench, and then I had this angled arm on it so that I could get in there and do that pretty easily, as you can see there, and it gave me plenty of. There are 2 of these bolts, and after they unlock, the threads here unlock, they become very loose, and I did those by fingers. Those bolts, let's see if I can get an angle on them. Or those nuts go onto the screws that are right here. So this is the new one. It's actually got this felt on it here, but it looks otherwise pretty much identical to the replacement, or to the original. I'm sorry, this is the replacement. This is the original. The original, you can see there's no felt on it right there. I guess that little bit of washer is gonna ask maybe to help silence things a little bit, maybe make it a little bit more secure. But otherwise, these things appear to be pretty much the exact same. So a couple things to note here with these. First off, this is the one I took out. You can tell by the wear. And if you look at the size of these 2 holes here, you may say, well, it's an optical illusion because of the wear. It's not. This hole is definitively smaller than that hole is. And so what I wanted to do was take the bolt that goes back through there and check it with it. And indeed, that bolt fits back through there. So we'll go ahead and be able to use this. The other thing I'll show you here is, and this is the one that we just took out. And if I move it this way, I'll move it down and move it back. Let's see if we can get that into the light there. So if we look at this one, you can see right there by my thumb, there's the crack, and that's what was broken in there and causing that to slide back and forth. So that's why we're replacing. One of the things I didn't show was this little piece right here. This is just a little push clip. You just push it in and it pops out. And once you take it out, then you just put it back in the same way. But I put the door all back together. Everything's gone back the same. And now when I shut it and open it, just sounds like a normal door without all that popping. That's been my biggest gripe on this vehicle after 5 years and 120,000 miles of ownership. So I finally fixed one of my biggest complaints about my Tundra, or my biggest issues with it, which as I open the door here, you can hear it just sounds like a normal door opening. There's no click or knock. It was this door catch right here that I'd known about for a while, and why this piece has stayed good and solid for me.